This season, the top 25 college football teams are going to, well, they are going to smash into each other exactly 49 times before the playoffs even begin,
Oh, man. Yeah.
which is just a staggering number. So welcome to a special bracket banter edition of the Deep Dive. The mission for this session is ambitious, but really essential. We are mapping out the entire 2026 college football season.
Right, because it is officially preseason poll time.
Yeah.
And that 49-game statistic you just mentioned, it is exactly why the anticipation feels different this year.
Totally different.
We are looking at a completely unprecedented level of scheduling density.
Yeah, we really are. And as always, we are sponsored by the fantastic team over at sportsbrackets.net.
The best in the business.
Absolutely. Today, we are pulling our source material directly from a newly released article by Lori Marion. It is titled 2026 College Football Top 25 Schedules. And this piece, it actually includes a printable grid of every AP-ranked team.
Which is so helpful.
Oh, it is required reading at this point. I highly recommend heading over to sportsbrackets.net to grab your free printable schedules and, use their college game day tracker.
Yeah, you are going to need a visual aid.
Right.
Because keeping all these matchups straight in your head, it is nearly impossible.
You really will need that wall chart. Because what Lori Marion has done is compile the full slates for all 25 ranked teams into just, a single visual grid.
And seeing it laid out like that, it really puts it in perspective.
It does. That staggering statistic of 49 head-to-head collisions between ranked programs, well, it just jumps right off the page.
It completely reframes how we need to evaluate these teams. We are no longer just looking at raw talent.
Right. No.
We are looking at who can survive a literal war of attrition.
Yeah, war of attrition is the perfect way to phrase it. But before we start, breaking down specific dates on that grid, I think we have to establish exactly who the main targets are.
Oh, definitely. We need to know who is carrying the heaviest expectations right out of the gate.
Right. So let me read off the AP preseason top 5 for you. Sitting at number 1, we have Ohio State.
Okay.
They're followed by Oregon at number 2, Georgia at number 3, Notre Dame at number 4, and then Texas is rounding it out at number 5.
That is just a fascinating mix, of traditional blue bloods and some new power dynamics.
It really is. Looking at those 5 names, starting in the top 5 this year feels like being granted a huge line of credit right at the beginning of a very expensive real estate project.
Oh, I like that comparison.
Right. Because you have high expectations, but you also have a little bit of financial padding if you make a mistake early on.
That is a great way to think about poll equity. Think of it like holding a high seed in a double elimination tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
If you start out ranked 3rd and you drop a really competitive road game against another top 10 team, well, the voters are not going to drop you out of the picture.
No, they will not.
You can afford to take a hit in September and still stay comfortably in the winner's bracket for November.
Wait. Let me challenge that logic right there.
Okay, go for it.
Does starting at number 1 actually hurt Ohio State this year? With 49 top 25 matchups on the board across the sport, they have zero element of surprise.
None at all.
Every single opponent they face is treating them like the Super Bowl.
Oh, without a doubt.
So that means Ohio State is taking on maximum physical damage every single Saturday, right? Because every team is playing them with maximum intensity.
Well, that is the defining burden of the number 1 spot. The psychological weight is immense.
Yeah.
According to the schedule grid, Ohio State opens their season on September 5 against Ball State.
Okay, yeah.
And on paper, that looks like a basic tune-up game.
Yeah.
It is a chance to let the starters feel some live contact, get the offensive timing down.
Right, knock the rust off.
Exactly. But after that first week, that target on their back becomes a huge liability.
Yeah.
Every coordinator they face is going to empty the playbook against them.
Exactly. You do not get a week off when you are the undisputed king of the hill.
No, you do not.
Every trick play, every defensive blitz package, it all gets saved for the Ohio State game.
Which is why roster depth is more important than ever. The teams in this top 5, they are not just relying on their starting 22 players.
No, they cannot.
They are relying on their backup left tackle and their third-string cornerbacks because those guys are going to be playing significant snaps by week 8.
They absolutely will. Well, the top 5 might be somewhat predictable, but I think the real story of this preseason poll is who the AP voters kicked out of the elite tier entirely.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, we have to talk about the Clemson drop.
It is the single biggest discrepancy from the coaches poll by a wide margin.
It is genuinely shocking.
And it tells us a lot about how voter psychology is shifting.
Right. I mean, Clemson has dropped completely out of the AP Top 25. They're just gone.
The context surrounding that drop is really fascinating, too.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, according to Marion's breakdown, Clemson is the very first team on the outside looking in. They actually lead all unranked teams in votes received.
So they were incredibly close to making the cut.
Yes, very close. But the voters decided to slide Louisville into the number 24 spot instead. And that leaves Clemson completely unranked.
See, help me understand the mechanics behind that decision, because it is like showing up to a restaurant and watching the hostess give your reserved table to Louisville while you are standing right there.
That is exactly what it feels like.
Why does a program with Clemson's recent championship pedigree get left out in favor of Louisville? Is it just, I do not know, voter fatigue, or is there an actual football reason behind it?
It usually comes down to a combination of returning production and recent offensive identity.
Okay.
AP voters heavily favor teams bringing back veteran quarterbacks and experienced offensive lines.
Sure, that makes sense.
And Louisville retained a significant portion of their core production. Clemson, on the other hand, has relied heavily on young, unproven talent. And they have faced serious questions about their offensive scheme over the last 2 seasons. So the voters are essentially saying they want proof of concept before they hand out a ranking.
That makes a lot of sense. It is a real show-me mentality from the press.
Exactly.
But here's the thing. The voters might have just handed Clemson the ultimate motivational tool right before a huge test.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the unranked Tigers open their season in Week 1 against number 11 LSU.
On September 5.
Yeah, September 5.
I mean, if you are the Clemson coaching staff,
Yeah.
you print out that AP Top 25 poll, you highlight the number 24 spot where Louisville is sitting, and you tape it to every single locker in the building.
Oh, you have to.
A win against the number 11 team in the country on opening weekend instantly corrects that perceived snub.
And if you are LSU, this is a terrifying spot to be in.
Very terrifying.
You are walking into a stadium against a deeply talented team that just got publicly humiliated by the media. I mean, LSU has everything to lose, and Clemson is basically playing with house money.
Which makes September 5 a brilliant opening weekend television product.
Oh, I cannot wait for that game.
Yeah. But let us look at the other side of that ranking coin. Because while Clemson got bumped out, there was a surprise high rank that really caught my eye on this grid.
Okay, who is that?
Indiana is sitting all the way up at number 6.
Wow.
Yeah, and they open against North Texas.
Indiana and number 6. That is a dark horse if I have ever seen one.
It really is.
How does a non-traditional power sustain a top 10 ranking in this kind of scheduling environment?
Well, Indiana at number 6 is a perfect illustration of how dynamic the college football landscape is right now.
Okay.
The transfer portal has completely altered team building. You no longer need 3 years to develop a top-tier defense.
Right, you can just buy one, basically.
Well, if you have the right NIL backing and a sharp coaching staff, yeah, you can assemble a veteran roster in a single offseason.
That is wild.
Voters look at Indiana. They see a highly experienced offensive line and a favorable early schedule, and they simply trust their floor.
So it is less about historical brand value and more about immediate, proven roster stability.
Exactly. I mean, they are positioned right behind Texas and right ahead of Miami.
That is some serious company to keep.
It is. That ranking means the voters believe Indiana has the physical maturity to survive the modern schedule.
Speaking of surviving the schedule, I really want to shift our focus to how these teams are grouped together, geographically and structurally.
Yes. Let us look at the conferences.
Because looking at this printable grid from sportsbrackets.net, the concentration of power in 2 specific conferences is almost comical. It is an arms race.
It really is a complete duopoly at the talk of the sport right now.
Yeah.
Let us analyze the heavy hitters in the SEC first. The conference is remarkably top-heavy.
Okay, read them off.
You have Georgia sitting at number 3, Texas at number 5, Texas A&M at number 8, Ole Miss right behind them at number 9, Oklahoma at number 10, LSU at number 11, and Alabama sitting down at number 13.
Hold on, wait, I have to stop you there.
What is it?
Alabama is ranked 13th.
They are.
Are the voters severely underestimating them? I mean, they are preparing to open against East Carolina, and I just cannot wrap my head around Alabama not being in the top 10.
It does feel a little weird.
It feels like a trap.
Well, it is a transition period for the program, and voters tend to be highly cautious during coaching or philosophical transitions.
I guess so, yeah.
Ranking them 13th is the AP's way of acknowledging the elite recruiting classes on the roster, while demanding to see the on-field execution first.
So it is another show-me situation.
Exactly. It is a protective measure by the voters. But you are absolutely right to question it. A program with that kind of historical pedigree, with those specific athletes floating around the teens, is incredibly dangerous for everyone else on their schedule.
I certainly would not want to be East Carolina on September 5.
No, you would not. The talent gap on the line of scrimmage in that specific game will be severe.
Yeah.
Now, if we shift our attention up north to the Big Ten, we are looking at a completely different kind of gauntlet.
Oh boy, here we go.
This conference currently features Ohio State at number 1, Oregon at number 2, Indiana at number 6, USC at number 15, Michigan at number 16, Washington at number 17, and Penn State at number 18.
Wow. Looking at those names, I mean, these conference schedules do not even feel like traditional football anymore.
What do they feel like?
It is more like a demolition derby, just cars smashing into each other. Think about the travel alone.
Oh, the travel's brutal.
You have USC flying across 3 time zones to play in Happy Valley against Penn State.
Yeah.
You have Washington flying to the Midwest. It is like running a marathon where every 3 miles someone jumps out of the bushes and forces you into a heavyweight boxing match.
That marathon analogy highlights a very real logistical problem for these coaching staffs. The physical toll is going to be unprecedented this year.
Yeah.
In the past, a highly ranked team might have 1 or 2 truly threatening games on their conference schedule.
Right, you could pace yourself.
Exactly. They could pace themselves, rest their starters in the fourth quarter of lesser games, and peak for rivalry week.
But not anymore.
Now, especially in the SEC and the Big Ten, there are virtually no weeks off. You play a top 10 team, and your reward the following Saturday is a road game in a hostile environment against a top 20 team.
All these highly ranked teams crammed into the same conferences means the calendar is packed with playoff-defining matchups.
Packed with them.
Let us get into the exact dates fans need to circle in red marker on that wall chart. Where does the real chaos begin?
We have to start with the early season fireworks in Week 2, which falls on September 12th.
Okay, week 2.
This week features a monumental out-of-conference clash. Number 1, Ohio State has to travel to play number 5, Texas.
In week 2.
Yes.
Normally, teams are still playing FCS schools in week 2 to figure out their quarterback rotation.
Not anymore. And if Ohio State at Texas is not enough, that same day we have number 10 Oklahoma visiting number 16 Michigan.
That is just an incredible Saturday of television.
It really is.
But strategically, why would these coaches agree to play these games so early?
Well, the playoff expansion changed the mathematical logic of scheduling.
Okay, how so?
A high-quality loss against the top 5 opponent in September is now infinitely more valuable to a playoff resume than an empty 50-point win against a non-power conference team.
Right.
By the second week of September, we're going to have a very clear picture of who has legitimate trench play and who is just a preseason paper tiger.
Okay, skip ahead a little bit for me. I am looking at week 6 on this grid, and I'm getting very anxious about October 10th.
October 10 is going to be wild.
Listen to this lineup of games. We have Texas at Oklahoma.
Yep.
Georgia at Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
Iowa at Washington. USC is at Penn State.
Mm.
And Texas A&M is at Missouri.
It is a remarkable convergence of talent on a single Saturday.
I mean, week 6 is like the point in an action movie where all the main characters finally end up in the same room and everything just explodes.
That is a great visual.
It is the structural stress test for the entire sport. If you are a coach on the hot seat, October 10 is where your athletic director starts making phone calls behind closed doors.
Oh, for sure.
You have all these historical rivals colliding right in the middle of the season when injuries are starting to pile up.
October 10 is going to completely rewrite the AP Top 25.
It has to.
The teams that survive that specific weekend will secure the inside track to the playoffs because they will have proven they can win high-leverage games on the road.
Yeah.
But the pressure does not let up. If we guide the listener further down the calendar to Week 10, which is November 7, we see another dense cluster of heavyweight fights.
What do we have there?
Oregon travels to Ohio State. Miami is at Notre Dame. Alabama goes to LSU. Plus, you have Penn State at Washington and Texas at Missouri.
It just keeps coming. There's no breathing room.
None.
The depth charts are going to be tested to their absolute limits by November 7th.
And then, of course, we arrive at Week 13 on November 28th.
Rivalry week.
This is traditional rivalry week, and the stakes will be astronomical. You have Michigan at Ohio State, Washington at Oregon, and Texas at Texas A&M.
Texas and Texas A&M on rivalry week is going to be spectacular.
Highly anticipated.
But I have a pointed question about this whole calendar structure.
All right, what is it?
You outlined that brutal early schedule, specifically week 2 with Ohio State and Texas.
Right.
I hear you saying that those games matter, but do they really?
What do you mean?
Well, if Ohio State loses a close game to Texas in early September, does it actually impact their season? Or is it just early season television drama that poll voters completely forgive by November because the schedule is so difficult?
That is the defining debate among poll voters right now.
Yeah,
Historically, an early loss was a severe blow, but a late loss was a death sentence.
right, because of recency bias.
Exactly.
Mm.
Voters would penalize a team heavily for losing in November because the failure was fresh in their minds. But with this 49-game collision course among the top 25, that old calculus has to change entirely.
Because perfection is basically off the table.
Precisely. Perfection is becoming nearly impossible. If Ohio State loses a close game to Texas in week 2, but then goes on to beat Oregon, Indiana, and Michigan later in the year, the voters are going to look at that entire body of work.
Right.
And they will say this is clearly one of the best teams in the country.
So it does not ruin their chances.
An early loss against a top 5 opponent is no longer a disqualifier. It is just a single data point. The sheer volume of elite matchups provides teams with multiple high-profile opportunities to climb back up the rankings.
It does not eliminate you, but it removes your margin of error.
Yes, that is a good way to put it.
If you lose in week 2, you are walking a tightrope for 2 straight months. It is less about going undefeated and more about surviving the gauntlet with a respectable number of battle scars.
It is about the quality of your wins eventually outweighing the sting of your losses.
Right.
A 2-loss SEC or Big Ten team with 3 wins over top 10 opponents is going to get a playoff spot over an undefeated team with a weak schedule. The committee is incentivizing these huge early games.
We have mapped the schedule, we have set the contenders, and that leads us directly to the ultimate question of how this grueling season will actually be won.
Right.
But before we get to our final thoughts, I want to remind you all one last time to grab your free printable schedules and track these matchups on the wall chart over at sportsbrackets.net.
Do not forget to do that.
You really cannot fully appreciate the sheer density of this season until you see all 49 of these games laid out on paper.
Very true. And to summarize our core takeaway today, the 2026 season is entirely defined by those 49 head-to-head top 25 matchups.
Yeah.
What this means mechanically is that the playoff spots will be earned on the field, not handed out in the polls based on historical reputation or preseason hype.
Right.
You cannot hide from your schedule anymore. If you want to hold on to a top ranking, you have to consistently beat the elite teams ranked right next to you on that grid.
You have to earn your spot at the table every single week.
We really do.
And you have to do it against fresh, highly motivated opponents.
You do. And looking at the entirety of this schedule, Greg, leaves me with a somewhat provocative thought regarding the physical reality of the sport.
Okay, what is that?
Well, we noted earlier that teams like USC are starting their season extremely early on August 29 against San Jose State in week 0.
Right, getting a head start on the chaos before September even begins.
When you factor in an August start, a record number of top 25 collisions throughout the year, the cross-country travel we discussed, and a newly expanded playoff format.
Yeah, that says a lot.
The season is longer and more punishing than it has ever been in the history of the sport.
For sure.
It raises a serious question about roster construction.
Right.
Could the sheer physical toll of this schedule mean the eventual national champion is simply the team that survives with the fewest injuries rather than the team with the most raw talent?
Wow. That is a heavy thought.
It really is something to consider.
We spent all this time analyzing recruiting classes, 40-yard dash times, and raw athletic ability, but it might just come down to who actually has a healthy, functioning offensive line in December.
Exactly. It shifts the focus from sheer star power to deep foundational roster management.
Yeah.
The strength trainers and the medical staff might quietly be the most valuable people in the building this year.
Oh, absolutely.
If your star quarterback tweaks an ankle in week 6, you might not have an easy game to rest him until November.
Something to keep closely in mind as we watch those demolition derby weeks play out on the field. The depth chart is going to be tested like never before.
No, never before.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this lively bracket banter deep dive. Enjoy the kickoff, track those games, and we will talk to you next time.